Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Alexander Howell, and today we are going live. This is a live stream talking about the potential new airport in Merida, Mexico. Now, for those of you who don't know, Merida, Mexico is a colonial town that is about 30 minutes inland from the Gulf of Mexico in the state of Yucatan. Most people know where Cancun is. Go 3.5 hours west of that by car, and you arrive in the beautiful colonial town of Merida, the Ciudad Blanca, or the White City. And the episode today, when we focus on the new airport, this started because of something that I always try to do the right way. And that is, there was an article that came out that basically talked about, and I'm going to hide that over there, that basically talked about, it was Yucatan Magazine article that showed that they were thinking about a location for this new airport kind of far from the city. And there have been a couple of controversies that people have gone over. And rather than having you go through YouTube comment sections and Facebook comment sections, they can be a little hairy. I figured let's go through some articles. Let's have a live chat for those of you who are here during the live stream. And for those of you who are not, if you click the live stream button, you'll be able to see as people do come into the chat and discuss some things. If not, I'm going to go through this, make it a pretty simple thing about just going through a few articles, showing you why they're thinking about a new airport, what the problem is potentially with that, and why the current airport is being discussed as either a fine thing that is going on right now and can continue to be that way, or something that needs to be replaced. There are a lot of different opinions. It is a little bit complicated, so rather than you having to just push through, why not just have a conversation with me as we're sitting here on a light Tuesday morning. It's actually September 14th when this live stream is going live. Again, my name is Alexander Howell. On this channel, we discuss a lot of real estate. We go through things in Mexico, Merida, things of this nature. And if you want to contact me outside of this, feel free to join my Instagram at Alexander from KC, like Kansas City, so at Alexander from KC. If you want to text me directly, any questions that you might have, 816-727-7740. But for now, let's get into the video. I'm going to roll a quick introduction, and then we'll go. So here we go. All right, so we're back. Now, the picture behind me is actually, I've got a little bit of a green screen issue going on right here. But the picture behind me is of the Progreso Pier, and the Progreso Pier is about 30 minutes north of downtown proper in Merida, Mexico, and this is the longest pier in the world. This is Progreso Beach right behind me. This is a picture that I took while we were on our first trip, our sabbatical down to Mexico. We stayed at a house in Guaymatoon. We actually, during that 4 weeks that we were down there, we ended up purchasing a home and really just enjoying this place, and now we are in the, I will say, middle stages of the actual renovation. And again, if you follow me on Instagram at Alexander from KC, you'll see some of those pictures as the walls go up. We're now on the second floor, which is pretty cool. But we purchased a home down here. We plan on retiring down here and spending at least 1 to 2, maybe even 3 months per year in this wonderful, wonderful city. This is on the beach. Merida's inland, but you get there the same way. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a bit of a transition, and I'm going to go from this beautiful picture in the background to this setup, where I'm in the lower right hand side. I've got Notepad above me that gives you all of the different links that you might want to have, and over to this side are the articles that we're going to go over. So if you are in chat, please feel free to comment or to get into the live stream. If you have any questions, I might hold off on answering some of them because I want to go through this information. I'm going to scoot my chair over here. I want to go through this information just a bit to kind of see how everything is progressing. And real quick, I'm going to check my live stream here, make sure that we are solid and good to go. And we are. So volume's good, everything's happy, I'm good to go. So I want to open up with this. This is the actual article that that for me started this discussion, because it wasn't necessarily, I need to turn down we're going to turn that down a little bit. The idea of a new airport anywhere is always kind of a controversial thing. And even though that might sound a little biased, or maybe that's the right word, I don't know if it is, but anytime that a new airport goes in, it's always about money and about the efficiencies of the amount of money that's being put into it. I know this from personal experience because Kansas City is actually currently building a brand new one-terminal airport that has been discussed for years. And that airport is going to be amazing. It's going to be beautiful, but it took over a decade to really get that thing through. And we had a mayor that was not 100%, but very, very focused on making sure that that occurred. Now, I agreed with it, but a significant amount of the population didn't. And I honestly can't say that I blame them because you always have to take into account where public dollars are going and is it efficient. Our airport was a 3 terminal, separate terminal airport. It was very inefficient and currently still is. This one will be better, but they are also building that new airport on the same ground as the old one. So I'm just giving you a little bit of context of when I see this stuff going on, I've at least been in a city where this has been a huge discussion for quite some time. So I know why people don't like it. Also, if you do like this video, please feel to like it below. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Anyway, getting back to it. This was the article that really prompted this video, and that is from Yucatan Magazine, which you are going to see a lot of articles from Yucatan Magazine in this video, and really it's because I think that the reporting is actually pretty good on a lot of the things that are going on within the city, or within the state of Yucatan, but especially within the city of Merida. So you can kind of see their opinion in the article is already started with their title, and that is Merida's new far-flung airport will be less convenient and cost more. So obviously, the cost more thing is pretty easy. They have done significant improvements and put in a lot of investment dollars into the current airport, which is located on the south side of the main loop of Merida. Merida is a city of approaching 1 million people in the state of Yucatan in Mexico. This is one of those airports that's actually in the city, and you can tell in this article they've got a nice picture of new airport site, and I'm hoping that my cursor's working right now. New airport site and current airport. And you can see that that sprawl of civilization is the city of Merida. And that is quite the distance. It's actually larger than the distance from one point of Merida to the other to get to the new airport site. And in this article, they have a great explanation of exactly what's going on, a lot of the different things. And you can see, I'm just going to quote a few things here. It says, earlier this summer came news that Merida's International Airport, which has recently undergone an extensive expansion when multiple renovations, will be replaced by a larger one outside of the city. Now, when I say a larger one, remember that for another article here. But now further details are beginning to emerge regarding the exact location of the airport. According to federal infrastructure plans, the new airport will be located in the tiny community of Paxila, which has a population of under 1,000. So under 1,000 people. Now, this is the most important thing, is this next paragraph, or at least it's the most important in my opinion. Aside from questions regarding the need of or viability of building a new airport, there is a matter of practicality. Getting from downtown Merida to the new airport will take at least between 40 and 50 minutes. The existing airport can be reached from downtown Merida in approximately 15 to 20 minutes. Another advantage of the current Manuel Cristiano Rayon Airport is that it is accessible via regular public transit, a feature much appreciated by airport employees. So basically, if you build a brand new airport, public employees are trying to get there. Now we have to figure out a way to make that happen. Along with that, it's on the south side of Merida as opposed to being in a city of under 1,000 people far away. So again, when I do these videos about things that are going on, for instance, when I did one... Sorry, something must be getting dropped off at my front door. My dogs just went crazy. I apologize for that interruption. But when I do these videos and I talk about something, one of the ones was Tren Maya, or the Mayan train. I want to bring my opinion of things to you guys, but at the same time, I also want to just get as much information to you. Weston. No, now my other dog's going up to be mad. Somebody's at our front door. Sorry about that. But I also want to just bring to you the information. You guys probably don't need to look at all of these different articles and try to figure out exactly what's going on. If I can bring the information to you, I can. So there's going to be a bit of my opinion, but also just bringing you the stuff that I see too. So what you can see here is that while a new airport can sound great, there are some unintended consequences if you try to do something like put the airport out in the middle of nowhere. Now, again, Kansas City's airport is really far to the north of our town, of the city. Because of that, it's quite a drive for some, but it's still at least in the realm of the city. This is very, very far away too, especially because Merida is a very packed-in city. It's a city of, I think, under 900,000. I said under 1 million, but it's under 900,000 in the city proper. But it is definitely a city where everything is very close to you. If it's far away, that can create some issues, whether it's for tourists or the people that actually work there. So moving on, to give you an idea of what they're talking about as far as destination, and I apologize, I've got nose itch. I brought this up, and this is just a Google Maps, straight up, like no messing around here. Here is what we're seeing as far as Paxila to the actual airport as it stands now. From that town to Merida, and this isn't with traffic jams caused by traffic with, people coming in and trying to get out. This is just what it's showing right now. It is about a 30-minute drive just to get to the previous airport. So if you've ever gone to Merida and you think about traveling anywhere within the city, this is just getting to where your current destination is. So however long it takes to get you to another place, add 30 minutes onto it. Unless you're south of the city, in which case it's actually a little bit closer. So that is a completely devoid of my opinion. That is just what it is. But let's go on to this one. So the next article, and again, this is the Yucatan Times. Merida International Airport is functional and can last many years of good service. Why is this important? And also, if you're a part of this, thanks for liking and subscribing. So the state president of the Nueva Alianza Party, Jose Cristiano Gutierrez Gonzalez, stated from his personal point of view that the Merida International Airport is functional and has many more years of good service, so it should not be relocated to another site. Besides, it is a historical site in Merida. Now, there was one part of this article that I really wanted to hit on, and that is, he reiterated that the decision made by the state and federal authorities will undoubtedly be for the good of the Yucatan. In addition, a project has to be presented where the new air terminal could be located, since supposedly the current airport building would be administrative offices for the operation of the Mayan train promoted by the federal government. He considered that in any case, the Merida airport infrastructure is modern, it has international runways, it is a historic building that has been in operation for many years, and is the pride of Meridians. It should not be relocated elsewhere, but federal and state authorities have the last word. So, in this idea, it's basically saying that, in his opinion, local opinion, it needs to stay, but federal and state authorities have to do what they have to do. Now let's move on to one other here. Yucatan government announces, and again, still Yucatan Times, Yucatan government announces relocation project of the Merida Airport. Relocation of the Merida Airport is a project that is going forward and will be carried out through an important private investment, which has been called into question about what private investment that is. I don't know for certain, but I'm just telling you what I've seen. But more than private investment, and this is one of the positive things that I've heard on a pretty continuous basis, will contribute to the economic reactivation of the state with the generation of more than 8,000 new jobs during its construction, and will bring various benefits to the Yucatecan population, informed Governor Mauricio Villaraigosa. So anytime that you have a situation where you're bringing in jobs, that's obviously going to sound like a positive thing. Jobs during construction is different than jobs like forever. And again, if you have a bigger airport, you may have a few more jobs, but eventually once that occurs, it's just going to be the exact same amount of jobs. In my opinion. Maybe they have something else planned, but if it's about the same size, maybe even a little bit bigger, the permanent jobs is very, very different than the 8,000 new jobs during construction. If construction lasts for 2 years, 3 years, whatever it might be, 8,000 jobs for 2 years, fantastic. What does that mean overall? That's the question that you have to ask. So, getting back to it. And this is to me, this is kind of the important part of this particular article. So I'm going to grab a drink real quick so I can get through this without coughing or anything. And also, for those of you who are in chat, thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. I'm going to go through this real quick. If you guys have any questions, put it in chat. Always appreciate the fact that you guys show up and are here and like the video and all that. Thank you. But getting back to this, and again, this is the reason that I wanted to talk about this article, because this is the other side. This is the part of the article where, when you look at it, if you are worried about it in any way, shape, or form, this is the part that you start to think like maybe it's a positive thing. Now, the location may be a big question. But if you're thinking that this is a positive thing, here are your arguments. So he says, I'm just going to read this straight. The governor stressed that the plan will allow the removal of the 6-kilometer barrier from the airport, which has contributed to creating the highest marginalization in the entire Yucatecan capital, allowing greater services to be brought closer to help Merida families to improve their living conditions. Quote, In this area, there are more than 100,000 people living in poverty. So removing the fence will allow more services to be brought closer and that they can have better living conditions so that they can get ahead. In other words, the separation created by the current airport will be ended and it will allow better attention to the areas beyond the wall of the terminal, Villadosal pointed out. In addition, 600 hectares will be released within the peripheral ring that will allow the growth of the city without leaving its limits, added the governor. So the entire idea behind this, right, is if you all of a sudden have, what do you say, 6 kilometer barrier, how many hectares did they say? 600 hectares. If all of a sudden 600 hectares are freed up for development, that positive development will ensue, and that will allow for services to be connected from one side of the airport to the other. Let's state a fact that isn't necessarily pleasant, but that is one that we need to absolutely pay attention to, and that is this. Normally, in a situation like this, in a city like Merida, and I don't mean a city in Mexico, I mean a city like Merida that is completely and totally surrounded by people and population, and is not, like my hometown where the airport can be north of the city and is really surrounded by, warehouses and commercial development and a few different pockets of population, but for the most part, it's kind of pushed out to more of a country setting. If you're talking about a city and the airport is built within that city, a lot of times what's going to happen is that the population around the airport, or I should say the real estate around the airport, is not necessarily considered prime real estate because you hear planes going by at low altitude and it gets really loud. So that area becomes cheaper. And when you have cheaper real estate, a lot of times, let's just say, draw your own conclusions about what it means. It means that the population isn't served very well because it is, quote unquote, a less desirable place to be. The argument that he's making is if we take that negative side, that low altitude flying, if we take that away from the population and put it outside of the city, it's going to make that area more desirable. More investment is going to want to be there. The problem, in my opinion, totally my opinion, looking at the cities that I've been in and the research that I've done, is that no matter what the case is, if you have a situation where that is already the case, and then you free up 600 hectares of land, that land is probably going to be fairly cheap because of what it is around currently. So you're going to have investment potentially, but what kind of investment might that be? Unless, and again, this is definitely I've got to watch what I say here because this is a big government versus small government idea, but unless the government comes in and puts kind of pushes the idea that you need to have strong positive investment of a certain sort into that area, you might come up with a situation where, because the land is cheaper and because the real estate around it is currently, quote unquote, less desirable than other areas of the city, you don't know what's going to really come in. So it can be a double-edged sword. While I agree that the idea can work, don't live by the rule of unintended consequences and say, if we take this away, it's just going to naturally be perfect. There needs to be a plan in place if that is the case. Now, I am not a Mexican. I am not a Yucatecan. I own real estate there. I'm excited to live there for several months a year now and in retirement. I'm only stating what I have seen in the past. And when you have a vacuum of real estate and you're saying that it's going to be all sunshine and rainbows, a lot of times it's not. So again, my personal opinion would be take all of this with a grain of salt on each side. The idea that the current airport is completely perfect and functional is good. It's fantastic because we've had positive experiences with the airport. You're in, you're out. They have restaurants outside of some long lines every once in a while, which could probably, if I can talk, probably be solved with a little bit of investment just in people there that are working there that kind of help you through the process. It's been a really good airport. Also, please feel free to like if you're watching this video. Thank you guys so much for being here. Also, feel free to join the chat. Thanks. But if you're a part of this community and you're there, I understand the idea that the population around it, and I don't mean the population like making the population sound bad, I just mean the real estate around it might not be the most desirable area. But at the same time, when you talk about the earlier arguments that we discussed, where if you take this thing out of the city, and now the population that may be living close to there and working there is now not able to get to the airport, there's a real catch-22 to be considered, and I really wonder what that could mean. Again, I am all for getting a nice new airport, shiny. It's all good, but this really needs to be something that's considered by all parties. That if you want to be a part of this, if you think that this is the right idea, this is your argument. But if you think that taking it out of the city is going to end up working out perfectly without you having a plan for what happens next, I mean, think about it like this. Every time, I hate the fact that I had to say every time, but if you think about a situation like when you go into, let's say, a country and you think that you're going to destroy it and then rebuild it, which has happened in the past. I won't point fingers at which one. But if you think that that's going to be the case and you think it's going to end up perfect, if you don't have a plan for what happens the moment that it goes from war to peace and then what's next, you're kind of lost in space at that point. You've got to really understand that if there's something going on next, have that thought that it's going on next in your line of sight. So again, I think that this is great, but the thing that scares me the most is this line right here. I'm going to read the whole, I'll just read from right here. Merida by removing the wall with which the living conditions of these families will automatically improve. My personal opinion, that's a tough sell. Just my opinion. And again, I understand the idea that if you don't have an aircraft taking off right over you every couple of minutes, obviously that's going to have some improvement there. But there's a law of unintended consequences that I really wish was being brought up too. So again, my opinion, 100% my opinion, but having a plan for what comes next is far better than just saying, nope, if we get rid of this, it's better. We're all good, baby. It's fine. So let's move on to the next one. We've spent some time on that one. This is why, though, right? This is why this is occurring. The Yucatan Times again. Merida monopolizes tourist influx in Yucatan. 140,000 visitors in July. And I'm just going to scroll down real quick as I take a drink here. But read this real quick. Boosted by the 2021 summer holiday season, during July, Yucatan received a total of 139,589 tourists who stayed overnight in the state, which meant a 516% rebound compared to the same month last year, COVID. But still, you're seeing why a new airport is being discussed, right? Merida's tourism has gone crazy. It's actually down here. Let's just read this article for full disclosure here. However, the document of the Tourism Development Secretariat of Yucatan refers that this figure is still lower by 31.1% than the data obtained during the year prior to the arrival of COVID-19, since in July of 2019 registered the arrival of 202,575 tourists. And guys, I apologize. I am not trying to bring any more attention to my nose than it's already bringing to itself. But that, I mean, that says a lot. If you have a decrease of a third, but you've already increased it so significantly from the year prior, logic would tell you that once the rebound is there and people are more comfortable traveling, you're going to see a continued improvement, or you're going to see a continued increase of tourism within Merida. And this article literally says it monopolizes the tourism influx in Yucatan, meaning that of the state of Yucatan, Merida is where it's at. Merida is where it just takes over everything. You can kind of see here hotel occupancy in Yucatan. And again, this article is Yucatan Times /2021/09. Merida monopolizes tourist influx in Yucatan. That's the domain of it. But this is why new airports and new pieces of infrastructure are always considered. It's because your city has been successful in driving tourism. It is showing that it is on the increase. There's an increased demand of tourism needs. So an airport is a positive plan for the future. However, let's get to, oh, didn't start that one out. Let's get to this article. Again, Yucatan Times, Merida Airport will be able to receive up to 4.5 million passengers per year. And this individual looks very stoic in his opinion on exactly where the future's going. I like it. And it says in February 2021, the first stage of remodeling works will be completed. First stage of remodeling works, and this was from December 4th of 2020. So this article is a little older, but the number that I want you guys to concentrate on, and I'm going to read this verbatim just in case you can't see it on your screen. But it says, with the remodeling and expansion work, the Merida International Airport, or AIM, will be able to receive up to 4.5 million passengers a year, more than double its current capacity. In the end, we are going to have an airport capable of serving 4.5 million passengers per year. And I'm going to try to pronounce his name correct, but this is the informed Oscar Carrillo Maldonado, administrator of the air terminal. In February 2021, as detailed, the works of the first stage of remodeling will be finished, which consists of the facade, which expanded to double the space inside the rows of documentation that were reduced due to the number of passengers that the place receives. So, I mean, this is talking about baggage claim rooms. They're talking about the expansion of all kinds of different things. But here's another important one. I'm going to highlight this real quick, make sure that it's on there. Upon completion of all of these works, which are stated just above this part, he specified that the Merida Airport would increase its capacity and will be able to receive up to 4.5 million passengers per year. To get an idea, the 2019, and so this is pre-COVID, the 2019... the Merida Air, I'm going to read that again. In 2019, the Merida Airport received about 2,008,000 travelers. So what's that? 1.3? No. 1.7? Yeah, 1.7 million more, and you've got your capacity. So in 2019, where we just discussed, the numbers were huge, even compared to what they were this year. It handled 2,800,000 travelers, and it has a capacity of up to 4.5 million passengers per year. Again, and they go on to say, after the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic has generated on national and international tourism, Carrillo Maldonado pointed out that the airport has recovered in an important and sustained way during these months. Until the cut of October, they exceeded 1 million passengers. The end of the year is expected to help increase that number. So this is from 2020. This is showing that the airport has the ability to handle more than its current capacity by 1.7 million passengers. Now, for those of you who are aware of what the airport looks like, aware of where the airport is, you can kind of tell that even though there are several different, what should I say, several complaints that you might have. I'll just put it, let's just put it honestly. Last time we were in was our trip that lasted from mid-August to mid-September. When we got to the international airport, we flew United. And we have the card that we pay probably way too much money for per year. But that card gave us the ability to skip this giant line of people that were on two separate United flights that were there. That was significant for us, but it also showed that there may need to be some rearranging, but even with that, there were still plenty of different places that were still available. So I think, again, like I said earlier in the video, getting a few more people behind desks would probably solve a significant amount of issues in this, I should say, with regard to getting people through. The customs area, for those of you who don't know, could be more efficient, but even in the space that it currently has, if you added more people behind the desk and then added more people clearing people to get through, even with one plane, you could cut it in half. You could cut the time going through in half. So I'm not somebody that's going to tell anybody in the state of Yucatan or in Mexico who lives there as a citizen, a permanent resident, whatever it might be, what they should do, ever. Again, you can tell that my opinion is coming out in this video. I have no doubt about it. If you like it, feel free to like. And if you have a comment about where I can put it, please feel free to comment down below. But my opinion is in this pretty obvious at this point. But at the same time, I understand why when you have a city that is growing, and again, Kansas City, as I explained at the very beginning of this video, went through a very similar process. You know, we fought for years to get a new airport on each side. And I've got to be honest with you, I wasn't really in the opinion on either side. I was kind of just a guy that was there. I liked our current airport, but what I constantly heard from people coming in was that KCI, or MCI is the international tag for it, is a fantastic airport if you live in Kansas City. Easy in and out. But if you have to stay in the terminal, it's horrible. Which for me means that if we want to expand travel through the airport, we need to make it a much, much better experience. Therefore, getting a new airport was probably the right decision. In this case, I've got to be honest with you, it really seems like, I don't want to say it's a money grab or anything like that, because that's not what I'm trying to reflect. I'm saying that I don't feel, in my personal opinion, as somebody who has been there through the airport, who appreciates the convenience of what it is and appreciates the size that it currently is, it doesn't seem like the time, if that makes sense. But I can see one day adding another terminal or doing something slightly out of town. As far away as Paxila is, I cannot imagine having to travel 30 minutes just to get to the original location that you were before. And especially when you're talking about some of the locations to the north of the city, some of the beach communities, Chilem, Chuberna, Progreso, Chicxulub, Guaymatoon, where we stayed on our first trip for a month there, Telchac Puerto, especially, that's even further away. I can see where this might divide some people, because that's going to be a lot of travel time, especially if you're on a flight like ours, which when we got in last time, the flight landed at 10:30 p.m. If you have a pandemic like COVID and you have to have your taxi cabs going all the way to those beaches, or even just all the way to the central area to come all the way back to the airport, I think that's going to create a problem. So let's get back to the last article that I want to bring up. This is a positive one. And again, this is kind of like the one where we talked about the increase in travel and stuff like that. By the way, thank you all for liking the video. I see that the likes are increasing. If you guys have any questions, I'm about done with the article, so please feel free to get into the live chat. I really appreciate you guys being here, watching this live stream. And again, if you're not watching it on live stream, feel free to get in the comments section, or send me a text, 816-727-7740, and all the other stuff that I've already talked about, and that's in Notepad got cut off there, right above me. That's how you can contact me directly. But thanks again for liking this video. Very much appreciated, you guys. But to impress upon the positive, right? IEN, or wow, I just went completely dyslexic right there. EIN Press Wire, everyone's internet news press wire, by the way. Merida, capital of the state of Yucatan, is Travel and Leisure's World's Best Awards 2021 winner for the 5th year in a row. It's September 8th, 2021. Today it is September 14th, 2021. This is a recent article. The capital city of the state of Merida, I think they wrote that wrong. The capital city of the state of Yucatan, which is Merida, was ranked as one of the top Mexican cities in this year's Travel and Leisure Best Awards 2021, making this the 5th time the city appears on the Mexico's Top City Annual Survey. Guys, this is why there's an influx of people into Merida. There's a strong expat community, no questions asked. But when I talked about how many people are building, how many people are purchasing homes that are being renovated, my architect, as most of you know who follow this channel, which feel free to subscribe to the channel and watch the other videos that we have, but my architect, Henry Ponce, basically said that, 5-10 years ago, his work was 90-10 expats to Mexican citizens. It was 90% expats, 10% citizens. Since then, and especially the last couple of years, it switched to 70% Mexican citizens, normally from places like Mexico City, to 30% expats, which I think is a really cool thing. People are coming, and this is just either their vacation home or they're coming here to retirement. They've lived in Mexico their entire lives. They were born, raised, citizens, permanent residents, whatever it may be, but they are choosing Merida as their future location, or at least as their vacation location. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. But this is why. Mexico it has the beach close. It has the colonial city right there with everything you could possibly want. Again, the beach is close. The pier has provided all kinds of different opportunities, not the least of which is tourism, because cruise liners come in, park, and this is obviously pre-COVID and will continue after COVID, but cruise liners come in and they bring traffic in, which some people like, some people don't like. Tourism is always kind of again, kind of like what we were talking about with the airport earlier, a double-edged sword, but it's bringing tourism dollars in, it's bringing tourists in, and that can be an incredibly positive thing. It's the safest city in Mexico, the second safest city in North America. Its proximity to the United States and Canada means that there is a significant expat community there. But even the expat community total, the registered number is 10,000 in a state of 2 million people. So it's a great community, but it's still small compared to the entire population there. Merida also doesn't feel like a Cancun. It doesn't feel like a part of Vallarta. It doesn't feel like some of the cities that you go to that are, you know, significant tourist areas. One of the things that I tell people all the time is if you go to Merida and you're a tourist, don't feel like you're going to be in a town where it's like Cancun where everything is bilingual. You're going to Mexico and you're going to have to speak a little bit of Spanish or download Google Translate, which I always recommend, because you're not going to run into everybody speaking your language. You're in their country. Enjoy what that means. But it also means that there's a fantastic experience, there's a beautiful population, and you're going to see a lot of cool stuff. But you also just have to understand where you are. And so when we think about the airport, when we think about the Mayan train, when we think about all of these different things, I always try to tell people I may disagree, I may agree. My opinion honestly doesn't matter. My opinion is coming full force from somebody who is hoping to live there for the majority of their time in retirement, somebody's opinion who is hoping to be there for several months a year, somebody who is a property owner there, but not someone that is a citizen, not somebody that is voting. It is just an outsider looking in. I understand the idea that increasing the infrastructure of a place that you love and that has the potential to help with a growing, a budding population can be fantastic for a city. It can also be a little ahead of when it should happen. It can be a little behind when you hope it happens. The discussion right now to me is ridiculously important. My Tren Maya video has some dislikes, has some comments that I've had about somebody like me coming in from the outside giving an opinion. I'm always going to have an opinion no matter what. That's just who I am. I try to present you with a lot of different stuff here. Obviously, it's coming from a place where I worry a bit about an airport that is 30 minutes away from the current airport, which is right in the middle of the city. But it's not my decision to make. Tren Maya, I think, is something that could benefit people quite a bit, but there are some environmental questions that people have. There's also a huge part of the population that thinks that it is being handled very, very well. Again, outsider's perspective, looking in. But this article right here, this one shows the reason that these things are always going to be considered, especially in Merida, because you have an amazing city full of fantastic people that have the potential to continue to grow their city through tourism. Whether that is looked down upon, up upon, whatever it might be, that's just what it is. It's where we find ourselves. So, guys, that is kind of the, I don't want to say the end of the video. I'm going to stick around, just kind of live stream, talk about some different stuff, tell you about where our build is right now, how things are going for us. I'm happy to kind of explain all the stuff that we're kind of figuring out and finding out. But as far as the airport and all of that, that's pretty much where I stand. I think that I'll just give you my full opinion now so that anybody that's like, you didn't come out and say it. I don't think it's the right decision to build an airport 30 minutes away from the current airport. There is a lot of infrastructure that's not talked about, like all the different rental car facilities that would have to relocate, some of which are larger companies that could afford it, but that's a lot of build out for something that currently has what I say 1.7 million a 1.7 million person available increase in traffic before it is too small of an airport. It's also right in the middle of everything. And while the idea of having the airport right in the middle of the city means that some of the population around it suffers for that, I understand that argument. I honestly have no ability to say one way or another what the positive answer is for that. I don't know if there is one. What I know is that it's been functioning like that for quite some time, and that the availability of 600 hectares in an area that is already depressed, as the governor himself said in one of those articles, I believe it was the governor, don't quote me on that, or at least check back in the video, but as they stated that was the case, I do want to make sure people understand that just because you open up land and you kill the airport that's there doesn't mean that people are going to be super excited to move in and put movie theaters and malls and hospitals and everything else when places like the northern area of Yucatan still has land available and is growing like crazy. I think that when you look at it, you have to look at it honestly. Is that going to happen? Yes or no? My opinion is, based on what I see in my hometown, based on what I see in the cities that I've traveled to, is that the best laid plans sometimes don't work out the way that you want them to. But I understand that it makes a really good talking point. So, and again, the other thing too is the private investment. I don't know what all is involved there. I could be completely talking out of my behind, saying that there may be some questionable decisions that are being made there as far as like who's getting the money, who's getting kickbacks, so on and so forth. I can't even speak to it because I don't know. I'm not there. But I know that anytime somebody just rushes forward with a plan without thinking about the next steps, normally it ends up a little bit the worse for wear. And even though it might be nice to keep the airport away from town so that the sound of planes coming in and out doesn't bother too many people in the population, it might be something where 10 years down the line, that's the right decision. But right now, it's not. And to go a little bit further, I will say this too. When you're talking about a significant amount of investment, and obviously private investment versus public, but the city still flood because of the amount of water that gets in underground. The city still flood during raining season. The sidewalks are, as I've said several times in this video, not necessarily ADA friendly. I think there could be private dollars or public dollars invested in certain areas of the city that could be positive for the growth of the city so that it doesn't grow too fast. My favorite show in the entire world is Game of Thrones. And I know that this last season left a lot to be desired, but the book series is also my favorite too. And I'm very, very obsessed with it. But, and if you see some of my early videos, you'll see the Game of Thrones books in the back. But that's neither here nor there. But one of the parts is there's a king that basically says the city grew too fast. King's Landing grew too fast. If I could tear it down and rebuild it, it'd be better. You see that a lot in cities like Merida where some of the sidewalks are too small, some of the roads are thin, some things are kind of going back and forth there. I understand that, again, I'm an outsider looking in. But if you're talking about dollars to make tourism better, one of the things that might be thought about is how to make the city as it currently stands better. Leave the airport as it is until it gets too small for the amount of people that are coming in. And by doing those first things, the former things, you might eventually make a great case for the latter occurring because you have made it such. Let me start that over. You have made it a more desirable city than it already is. And trust me, it already is very desirable to be there. Let's see. Oh, LECP, what's going on? Got the live chat going. Again, if you guys are watching this on after the stream, after the live stream occurs, feel free to hit the live chat button. That's going to show you who's been talking. But LECP, thanks for being here again. I really appreciate it. Is Yucatan the best city to live in the south part of Mexico? My opinion, yes. I've obviously seen several people that like Cancun, Playa del Carmen, but a lot of those individuals, in my opinion, they've kind of come for the party atmosphere and they like the idea of being able to stay in an all-inclusive forever. But as far as like an actual city that has all of the things that you want, the grocery stores, the restaurants, the museums, the stuff that kind of takes up your time while you're there, I don't think you can beat Merida. I really don't think so. And I mean, the safest city is always going to be a positive. But the other thing that I think about is you get the best of both worlds. You not only get the beautiful colonial kind of modern, I don't want to say modern feeling city because and it's not that it doesn't feel modern. There's obviously the north area that feels more modern, but you just get the modern conveniences. With Cancun, I've said this multiple times. The reason that we wanted property in Mexico was because my wife stayed there for a semester when she was in college, fell in love, and then we've been going there at least normally. I shouldn't say at least, but there have been 1 or 2 years where we've had to skip, but we've been going there for at least once, twice, sometimes 3 times per year for several years, pretty much throughout our entire relationship. And we've always gone to the touristy areas, but we started out wanting to build in Isla Mujeres, the island that's just off the coast of Cancun. But prices just skyrocketed after the recession, and it kind of just went out of our price range for what we would want. When we traveled to Merida, I was convinced 100% we were going to buy a house when we were down there. I ended up being right, but it's because we love that area and or we fell in love with that area, but we really love just Mexico in general. And so yeah, I having been somebody that's traveled to a bunch of different places in Mexico, my wife who's done even more than I have, traveled even more than I have, I would say yeah, it's fantastic. Gene, tell me if it's. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. It's Gene. If it's Jean, let me know too. Merida is a great city. The airport is perfect. If might need to expand or may need to expand, keep it the same place. They tried this in Montreal, Canada, a few years after opening. In the boonies, they closed it. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I totally. It's John. John, thank you. Um, yeah, I totally agree. And this is this is that double-edged sword comment, right? It's a great idea on paper sometimes. Um, but if you have something that's working, it's the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So I don't feel like this airport has any issues. I think that the location is actually perfect. I covered why some people might disagree with that, but as far as the idea of moving it, I think it's a bad draw. And on top of that, I honestly believe the few issues that I have with that airport, I think could be solved with minimum investment. And especially the biggest part of the investment would be people. Get people there. More people working the counters, more people working, in the customs area. Just get people through, and you kind of solve a lot of the issues. And especially when you think about getting all those people through really quickly, if you do that and then you don't solve the taxi issue, you're in a world of hurt. So, and man, you think about Uber, trying to Uber out of town, driving 30 minutes one way to drive it back. That's a nightmare too. So I totally agree with you. People keep mentioning Chiapas as the best state in the southern of Mexico. Chiapas is a place that I need to head to. It's one of those things where I think if you're a fan of one, or if you live in one, um, you're that's where you stand, right? That's just where you want to be. Let me just to put a map on where Chiapas is. So for those of you who don't know, Yucatan up here, Merida right there, and Chiapas right here. There it is. I have a friend at my wife's work who's actually a client of mine who tells us that we have got to go to this place, Oaxaca. And he says that I'm going to be sad that we chose Merida over Oaxaca. And I don't agree, but I'm willing to try it. I'm definitely willing to try it. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I think you're on the southern area. There's so many different nice places. There's so many different, beaches along each side that it's just going to be the opinion one way or another, right? So, but Oaxaca, I've heard many positive things about it. Cannot wait to go there. Hopefully, we can fly into Merida, take a little puddle jumper over to Oaxaca, and then come right back. And then Chiapas, I want to explore too. So, San Cristobal, yeah. I mean, just there are so many different places, cities, beaches, towns to explore in Mexico that I think. I mean, that's why. Um, for those of you who probably follow a few of these pages like mine, Tangerine Travels is one that has a couple 100,000 subscribers. Going through a bit of an issue now because I think the two people that had the channel they broke up, which I feel bad that occurred to them, but I don't envy what they have to do to make that work. But they travel all over the place and they go to all these different places. So I would say if you want to talk about all these different places in Mexico, stuff like that, go to their channel again. It's called Tangerine Travels, and they've got all kinds of different videos where they've been kind of all over the place. But I know I've seen one about Oaxaca. I know I've seen one about Chiapas. So I can't remember if my wife went there or not. I'll have to ask her when she gets home. We have so many friends and so many like we've been very very lucky in our group of friends that there are so many different people that have traveled to all of these different places. So even though we, have been in Quintana Roo, we've been a part of Vallarta, we've been to Merida and the Yucatan and that kind of thing. We have so many people around us that once we started talking about this, especially once we purchased our house in Mexico, they were immediately talking to us like, "Oh, you've got to go here, you've got to go here, you've got to go here." I was like, "I'll go anywhere." Like this, all this does is sound amazing to me. So I love hearing stuff like that. But yeah, what I would tell you is too, LECP, when when you think about it, just I mean, if you have the potential, just go to a bunch of different places. I mean, San Miguel de Allende, I've mentioned a couple of times with Puerto Vallarta, Oaxaca, all these different places have fanboys and fangirls. And obviously I'm a fanboy for Merida, but I mean, I always wanted a beach house until I saw the amount of maintenance that it was going to take, and what you could get in Merida was also really impressive to me. Thinking about having it as an Airbnb in the beginning, I would say just visit them for several weeks. I mean, if you can spare several months, that'd be great. But visit all these places and just stay in them. Stay where you would want to purchase, and I think that's going to be the best answer. I like Merida, but my body adjusts real easily to heat. If that's not going to work out for you, Merida is probably not your spot. It was, one of those places where if I was wearing this shirt, I was going to be sweating my butt off the whole time we were out there. And all I tried to do was not do that. But there were days where you'd open up the front door and it just was a wave of heat hitting you in the face. So again, it to me, it's mainly about try as many places as you can. I think that's the right answer. See, Carla, what's going on? I think Merida will be a great base for traveling. Totally agree. Totally agree. And especially if you're traveling like anywhere, but especially if you're traveling within Mexico itself. There are so many flights to so many different areas of Mexico, and they're just not like crazy flights. So if you want to go to Mexico City, boom, Merida. And again, it's an easy airport right now to get in and out of. That's a fantastic way to put it. It's a fantastic base to go in and out of. It's a large city, but it's not Mexico City. You're not having to deal with all of that, which can be a little bit crazy. So I think I think you're right. That's a very good point. It's San Cristobal de las Casas, and I can't remember who was telling me about this, but I've heard it's absolutely beautiful. And look at this picture. That's the only picture you need in the entire world for me to want to go to your place. That's it. That's beautiful right there. That's fantastic. And this is I apologize if I'm pronouncing this wrong, but Tuxtal Gutierrez. That would be a fantastic place to go. So never forget about that because that was absolutely fantastic. That reminds me of some that actually so I'm gonna nerd out for just a second. That reminds me of if you guys have ever seen Lord of the Rings. I think it was Lord of the Rings. I think it was the first one. I think it was Fellowship of the Ring, where they go through and they have the. Let's see if my cursor will work here. They have the two kings on each side of the river. That's what that reminds me of. So there you go. There's your nerd moment for the day outside of when I was talking about Game of Thrones. But yeah, I mean, I think no matter what the case is, I mean, if you're in Campeche, if you're in Cancun, if you're in Merida, if you're in Playa del Carmen, if you're in Cozumel, if you're in, here's where we were thinking about building initially, Isla Mujeres, no matter where yeah, that's a terrible picture of it. Not. But no matter where you are, I think that as long as you find the right place for you, you're good. Again, I can handle heat, but I've had several people in live chat on this channel. I've had several people in the comment section send me emails, things like that. Which, by the way, if you do want to send me an email, alexanderhowell.com, just go to the contact us page. All that contact form does is send me an email directly. So alexanderhowell.com, and it should be in the description of my channel. If it's not, it's the same spelling, just no spaces and a .com. But I've had several people contact me and just say like, I can't stand the heat. And my first answer is like, well, Meta is probably not going to be for you unless you can adjust pretty quickly. But if you can, it's a wonderful place. And, the cost of living is not crazy. We are putting more money into our house, as I've said in several videos, than anybody ever needs to. But we have a point to that. We have uh, my parents and my wife's parents that we're very close with, we want to be able to have them down. So we have a whole apartment on the upstairs that is basically theirs anytime that they're down. So you can buy a house for an insanely low amount of money that has everything you would ever want and is at a fantastic location. Or you can do what we did and buy a place that needed to be completely renovated and spend too much money. But outside of that, cost of living, taxes, food, stuff like that, very inexpensive. So if you can handle the heat, it's great. LECP, my partner doesn't want to go there because it's too hot and there are a lot of bugs. I haven't had many issues with the bugs. I got to be honest. It's easy for me. Like we have a home at Lake of the Ozarks. We're on the water, but we have land around us. So when we go down there, I throw on some bug spray and I'm good. So it was super easy for me to go down there, spray on some bug spray, make sure that the house had, bug spray in it, just like I would where I am down here. Like I'm in a green screen right now, but I'm in just a normal suburban house in the Kansas City area. I spray bug spray here. So I wasn't that disturbed by the bugs. I've, obviously like anything else, I've had a couple of run-ins with some big bugs that are like, but nothing too bad. But the heat is a big thing. 100%. Like I said, I'm not gonna lie. In Merida, if you can't handle the heat, you're good. The one thing I will say though is that if you look at the difference between the temperature of the coast and the temperature of the city proper is always about 10 degrees warmer than the coast. Now you'll obviously have some hot days on the coast, but if it's a question of temperature, I would say try Merida for a couple of days, but without question, stay on the beach because that's where we stayed for our first trip. We stayed a month there in Wymatoon that was kind of on the main highway. Here, I'll show you kind of where it is. Wymatoon. Oh, that's not working. Wymatoon, Yucatan, Mexico. Boom. So let's see. So here's Plaza Wymatoon. So just to give you an idea, there's Merida down here. There's Progreso, and Playa Wymatoon's here. So it's just kind of along this Highway 27. There's all kinds of different places. But the place that we stayed, beautiful beach. Sorry, I'm losing track of my camera here. Beautiful beach, but you have these long, get an idea here. This is perfect. So you have these long lots. Go to all the way to the highway. They've got a gate here. Normally there's a sign that tells you which place it is. But there are these long, skinny lots. And this one actually looks like a double lot. And here's one that's kind of a long, skinny lot too. But the houses are built kind of vertically. Normally have your own little beach. And then here's the main beach. So is that actually, that's not. Oh my God. I landed on the exact same place that we stayed. That was not planned at all. That's amazing. Oh my God, that's crazy. Okay, this house right here with the little palapa here, the palapa here, this is the exact home that we stayed in, and that was not intentional at all. This is where we stayed, and I recognize the house right next to it. So you saw it here first. I'm getting used to the map, but this is the home that we stayed in. It was absolutely beautiful. Wow, that's so cool. But this is the house we stayed in. There was a nice place like right over here that had this is three different townhomes, but there were like a few different condos in each. Wow, that's pretty cool. Okay, so this is the house that we stayed in. So normally you see like here's the parking area. You just parked under the palapa, that little nice patio area here, and then you walked into the house. They've got the pool here with a hot tub here, and then palapa, and then a little bitty sand beach for the kids, and then this was kind of the walk out to the beach. That was amazing. I'm still freaked out by that. Okay, that was pretty cool. Anyway, sorry about that. But then this place just kind of had a bigger beach area open up. But this is the main setup for Wymatoon. But you also notice that you're not close to anything at all. But you're right on the beach, so if there is a question about heat, I would say, and I apologize, I got totally off road because I realized that that's exactly where we stayed. Kind of freaked myself out. But there's wind that comes from the north off of the Gulf of Mexico. And when you get that, like the first couple of nights, all we had to do was open up a window or open up a sliding glass door. And it completely solved all of the AC issues. They didn't have any air conditioning on the first level of this home. We'd open up to the wind and it was fantastic. It was covered. It had a covered porch on top of that, but all of that air kind of circulated through. So you got nice air circulation. Just to show you, here, so the front of the house here, there was a door right here, and if we opened up these doors and that door right there, we had fantastic air circulation. We didn't even need air conditioning down there. There were a couple of days where the air died and then it got hot. But how do you solve that? You put an air conditioner down there, and then it's still 10 degrees cooler on the beach than it is in the city. So that's kind of one of those things that you just have to figure out what you're good with. For us, this house was fine 95% of the time, and it would have been fine 100% of the time if they would have had an air conditioner or two in the main floor. Upstairs, each bedroom had an an air conditioner similar to what we're doing in Merida, but for this particular property, it ended up working out just fine. They also had, I'm going to bring this back to the beach view here. You can kind of see that there's the muck and there's the ocean, and that's just kind of where it sits. But for that, the air came from the north, kind of helped to cool down the house, and then we were fine. And again, there was only 1 or 2 days the entire time we were down there that the wind just died. When we were down there last time, we saw that there was, apologies, let me back up. We were down there last time after we went to the beach club, Club Playa. We ended up going to Crabster in Progreso. Crabster is a fantastic restaurant. They have one in Merida proper and in Progreso. But the one in Progreso is right on the Malecon, right by the beach. And they had no air conditioners. It was pure and simple wind coming in from the beach. And it was completely and totally comfortable. So again, long way of saying that if you're worried about heat, but you still are thinking about Merida, try the beach, because I think you might like it. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that. And again, I apologize for going completely off track there. It freaked me out that that was our exact house, and it took me a second to figure it out. So again, and for all of those of you who are still watching, please like the video. Helps it get out to more people. Very much appreciated. Thank you for the 9 likes that we have so far on this one. It is always, always, always appreciated. I have a video coming up that I'm trying to make. I finally got all of our videos uploaded from our trip, from my phone and from our different devices. All the videos uploaded, and I've got them on my computer. And now I just have to kind of do the script writing and narrating of getting the video up. That's gonna really show the 3 weeks that we spent in Mexico. And I'm trying to figure out a title too. I want to call it our 3 weeks in Mexico or our trip to Mexico, but you know, we were in Merida pretty much the whole time. But I hope the content that I've been creating lately has been helpful too. I started realizing that almost every single email that I was getting from you guys and the questions was like, hey, can you please provide me with the realtor that you used, or can you please provide me with the architect's information, or where you stayed, or what the restaurants are, who drove you back and forth to the airport. I know those questions are huge, so I've been trying to kind of put in that information as we continue along, but sometimes it's just a little bit more difficult to figure out exactly what is needed as opposed to other stuff. So yeah. And again, if you're in live chat, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. I'm also more than happy to just continue talking. As you can probably tell, I'm good at just continuing to go on and on and on. But also, if you're in here randomly and are not subscribed to the channel, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. It's awesome. I try to do these live streams at least once a week. I've been kind of off lately, just to be honest with you guys. Our family has been trading sicknesses. So we've been a little under the weather for about the first week and a half. But normally I try to live stream once a week, try to put a video out once a week. But when I can't talk, because I'm sick, it gets a little bit difficult. But that's what it's like having kids in daycare and in kindergarten. No COVID, no COVID. But it's just been these random, like, 24-hour to 48-hour sicknesses that have just been killing our household. Halo Clips, what's going on? You should check out Spain to live. It's so much better there in all senses. So here's the deal. I sent my niece, I should say my wife and I sent our niece to Spain to study for a semester, or for the summer semester, a couple of, can't remember, it was the year before last. And we wanted her to have like one semester out, and so happy we did it. She loves Spain. My wife enjoyed Spain, but didn't like it as much as Mexico. I totally buy into the adage of happy wife, happy life. And the biggest positive for us too is, as much as I love Spain, and I've said this on several videos in the past, I love, like, when we went to Italy a few years ago, and actually I just had a memory pop up, and it was longer ago than I thought it was. It was about 7 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, in 2013. So yeah, 8 years ago. I fell in love with it. We went to Siena in Tuscany, and if I would have been on my own, I would have just stayed there. I fell in love with Italy. I fell in love with Siena especially, and just continue, I should say, to want to go back. The problem for us is we are really, really close to family. And as much as I love Europe, and again, I love Italy, and she was okay with Spain, but it wasn't her favorite. Definitely preferred Italy over Spain. Um, and I do want to travel to Spain, but it is so much easier to get my family and her family down to Mexico than it is all the way across the pond into Europe. And that might sound like a minor thing, but we are really close to family. So I can agree and I can see where you're coming on that wavelength. I totally appreciate it. And our particular situation, I'm like I'm like Dom from Fast and Furious. Like, it's all about family. So that's the biggest thing for us is I think my wife and I will be spending quite some time, quite a lot of time in Europe in the years coming up, especially like when our kids get old enough to where when we bring them places, they're actually going to remember and have memories of it. Because we want to make sure that they go all around the world and see the people. But but I get it. I do get it. But just for us, Mexico makes so much more sense because it's 6 hours of travel time with a 2 hour layover. So, but I get it. Are you Halo Clips? Are you living there now, or is that where you plan to live in retirement, or anything else? Let me know in the comments. Actually, in the live chat, that's where you just comment. You know what I'm saying. I'm going crazy. I've been live for an hour and 6 minutes. But no, I mean, when like I said, when we traveled to Italy, we had this really cool trip. And I can't remember where my wife found it, but we went with my parents and with her parents, and then the two of us. It was pre-kids and all that, and we had the coolest trip ever. We flew into Rome, stayed in Rome for 3 days, did the Colosseum and the area around the Colosseum tour, which was that was heaven for me. I'm a huge history buff and read all about ancient Rome, rise and fall of the Roman Empire, all that. And so it was beautiful and fantastic and like emotional for me to do that. But then we just traveled all around Rome and loved it. Then we took a train to Florence, drove back into the heart of Tuscany, and went to all these different cities all around Tuscany. Traveled the countryside. It was fantastic. Stayed in like a seminary that was built in the 1300s. So cool. Then we took our rental cars and drove back into Florence, stayed there. There's all kinds of fun stories from that trip back. But then we stayed there for another 3 days. So it was 3 days, 3 days, 3 days. And when we got back to Florence, as much as I loved Rome and the history there and would love to go back anytime, I fell in love with Florence. Like, I fell in love with Siena. I'd want to live there, but Florence was beautiful. And I got back and I figured with all the food and all the wine and all the pasta that we had consumed, I figured I'd gain like 20 pounds. We walked so much every day. I mean, I'm talking miles. There was one day I think we walked like 13 miles on the ground just walking through Florence. I lost a pound spending 9 days in Italy. So that should say a lot. It's also funny that it's also funny to me that we did that and and we came back and it's like, oh, well, now we're back in the United States where we take cars everywhere. Why would we continue to walk? So anyway, Halo Clips. I feel like kids will dislike Merida at some point when they become adolescents. Unfortunately, Merida is boring. I'm watching from Sevilla. Awesome. I disagree. I think Merida is pretty awesome. Again, not like we haven't been there for a year, but based on the beach trips, based on the museums, based on the malls, based on everything here. I mean, if you're talking about Sevilla and everything like that, there's Sevilla. Hopefully I know how to pronounce that at some point. Maybe they will. But, if they're down there for a month, 2 months, 3 months at a time, random times in the year, I don't think so. I think we're going to be good to go. They really liked it last time, and we were, walking around the whole time. The only thing that they had trouble with was they're 6 and 3 years old. So as they get a little older, um, maybe not. But the biggest thing that they had an issue with right now was the fact that it was just ridiculously hot in Merida, and that was tough. I mean, that was tough for everybody. But at the same time, like I was telling everyone, it's like, well, yeah, if we want to walk 20 blocks to get to a location, yeah, it's going to be hot. You're going to sweat. I'm fine with it. But then it was also, $2 to $5 for an Uber to get around town. So based on the places that we went, I mean, we went to malls, we went to the beach, we went all kinds of different places. All they wanted to do was go, take canoes out at the place that we went to the beach club, um, snorkeling, playing in the pool. We were at the mall. They had like all these indoor fun things to do there. That was awesome. So yeah, I get it. I understand that you're a fan of Spain, but uh, but I don't think they're gonna get bored. There are a lot of people that live in Merida, and they seem very happy. And on top of that, if the Mayan train ends up working out, then we just hop on a train and we go to a different location and see some ruins and stuff like that. LACP's on my side. Thank you. I think the biggest thing is you just find what you love. If you love, like, my biggest thing is I like traveling. You know, when my wife she travels for work a lot, and so she'll go to Denver, which is an hour flight or an hour and a half flight from us. She'll go to Chicago, hour and a half flight, Boston, a little bit longer flight, all these different locations. Like, I like traveling just in general within the US. I'm not a big driver just because I can't drive very long. It drives me crazy. But if I can hop on an easy flight out to Denver, out to Boston, out to New York, to Maine, to Miami, to LA, to San Francisco, up to Alaska. I haven't been there yet, but I want to. If I can go to Mexico, if I can go to Europe, like, that's what I love doing. It's just going to new places. Boston to me was amazing because Boston is this crazy city where a lot of it is an older, beautiful, architecturally amazing city. And then you have a modern building that's a high rise right next to, a place that was built in the 1800s, which Europe is very different than that. Their buildings can be far, far older than that. But like, I love Boston. I loved Merida. I loved Cancun. I liked Isla Mujeres. I liked Puerto Vallarta. I loved Costa Rica, whether it was Capos or um, Manuel Antonio, and then obviously Italy, which I've spoken about fairly, during this. But I think the biggest thing is you find where you love and then you continue to travel. Adamayo 14735 prefers Merida too. I think we're winning on our votes, Halo. Thanks, guys, for commenting. Carla, what's up? We drove from the Dallas area to Merida. How was your drive, Carla? I'm actually really curious about that. So I have this dream. One of my crazy dreams is I want to buy. They're probably called. I think I talked about this on other live streams, but they're called schoolies. I want to get a school bus and convert it, and then make that my long haul drive. Be able to drive a few hours a day, stop in, but that kind of thing. So tell me about your drive from Dallas to Merida, if you don't mind. I'm excited to hear about that. Easy Peasy 24. First of all, fantastic name. Have you noticed the property prices starting to rise in Merida? We've been looking around Mexico and noticed prices in some towns rising and others staying fairly flat. Yeah. Yes. Couple of things on that. One, you are going to see a lot of complaints about Merida prices going a little bit crazy right now. So yeah, I've definitely seen that. What I can tell you is when it comes to those prices, I think if you look around, you're going to see like there are certain places and areas that they're definitely crazy. I think you can also find some really good deals still, and it all depends on what you're looking for. Again, I fully admit that we bought our house. We actually got a great price on our place, but we are putting way more than anybody needs to into it, which is probably causing a slight rise in price. But if you get the right realtor like Elizabeth Rodriguez with Yucatan Beach and City Property, I'm not paid to say that. That was just who our agent was. She was really good about kind of saying like, well, what's your price range? What are you looking for? And being honest about it. But there's no doubt about it. Prices are definitely rising there. What I would say to that is prices are rising kind of everywhere. Now, there are definitely, like you said, there are some areas that are staying flat. But like I live in Kansas City, Missouri, which is normally known as a kind of the real estate prices are fairly low. Um, because of that, it's also fairly desirable. And you kind of see neighborhoods when they, there are places that sold for $175,000 3 years ago that are worth close to 300 now. So it's just one of those things that I think it's going to be in flux. I think we're just in a period of supreme growth for everyone. Eventually, I think you'll see some cooling. I don't know if you're going to see a crash, but I think you'll see some cooling off. So it all depends. But yes, I have definitely seen prices increase. There are a lot of complaints from people that have been there for 10 plus years, but that's just kind of supply and demand, in my opinion. So, but yeah, I totally understand. Let's see. Carla Farrell, very, very long trip from Dallas to Merida, but uneventful. Uneventful can be fantastic. That's a good thing. So I will say that that was a good trip. But yeah, I timed the trip from Kansas City to Merida because I was hoping that I could make it work, and it was like 26 hours, and that was only travel time. That was not stopping or anything. It was like basically you're gonna enjoy a week of travel if you drive like I do. Um, but yeah, I'm just happy it was uneventful for you. Uneventful is a positive. It's a positive. Halo clips, what you got? But dot dot dot. Food is better in Spain than Mexico, y'all. Oh man, that is gonna bring out the haters. I'm telling you right now. You might have started a firestorm, Halo. If my wife was here, like she does not like being on camera. Like whenever you see a video where I'm like filming on location at our house in Mexico or in Merida, you'll see her duck out of the way. I'm pretty sure if I read that and she were home, she might have some stuff to say to you. 'Cause especially in Merida, there's some pretty amazing food, man. And she's been to Spain, and I don't remember her talking about the food in Spain. And that's not to say it's bad. I've never been there. I can't say it. But I'm honestly I'm gonna show her this video later. I'll get you her opinion. And again, that's the thing. It's like, okay, if you like the food in an area, like I love Italian food. And I'm just going to be honest with every single person watching this video, watching this live stream. I'm going to be honest with all of you, and I'm probably going to get some hate. But I'm going to be honest with you. If I have a choice of Mexican food or Italian food, I'm going Italian every time. That doesn't mean I don't like Mexican food. It means that I prefer Italian food. But, I don't know, man. See, Carla's already on my side. She disagrees. I'm going to start getting a chart out for all of my subscribers that just has like all the different places where certain people have traveled. And if there are two people that lock in, we got to get like competitions between countries. Spanish or yeah, actual Spanish food, Mexican food, Italian food, that kind of thing. Carla, ooh, Carla's coming out with the big guns. Tomatoes smashed on bread got old. Carla, that was actually what I was thinking when it came to what my wife had said. So I can't say anything. I've never been there. I've never been to Spain. I cannot comment on their food. I can only say that I've heard certain things, and that's it. A lot of ham. I've heard there was a lot of, is that right? There's a lot of ham in Spain? I think that's right. Stuff like that. I might be wrong. Also, guys, if you're enjoying this content, please feel free to like the video. Helps it get out to more people. Very much appreciate all of you guys that are participating in the live chat and that contact me. It's amazing to see the subscribers grow, but it's also amazing just to see people interacting with the channel. So thank you guys so much. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm an Italian food guy. I have I'm like I won't say everybody. I'm like a lot of people in the U.S. where I'm a mutt. I have my ancestors went everywhere, and and that's become me. But my two biggest, I think, are Irish and Croatian. And so I don't know what that means, but I think the Croatian kind of takes over with the Italian food because I've been to a Croatian restaurant in New York and it wasn't too far off. Traveling Squirrel, good to see you again. Glad you're joining chat. You may call it ham, but it is ham on a completely different level. Okay. Look, I'm ready to try it. Basically what that means is I am ready to travel to Spain to be proven wrong. But I do love ham. I'm not so here's another confession. I'm not a huge tomato guy, but I like everything that tomatoes make. Outside of Bloody Marys, I'm not a big Bloody Mary fan. I'd rather have some other fantastic morning drinks. But I can pretty much have everything tomato except for an actual tomato, and I don't know why that is. You throw some cooking on a tomato, I'm good to go. I bet Halo hasn't been to Mexico. Oh man, LECP dropping the big bombs. It would be kind of like, not that it's not possible, but I definitely have a Merida and a Mexico tilt to this YouTube channel. I'm hoping to expand it to Mexico as I'm able to travel to different areas and kind of document it for you guys. But it would be kind of interesting to have somebody that had never been to Mexico on the channel. I still welcome you, Halo, if that's not the case. But I still love it. But that would be kind of funny. It's like, why'd you follow the Merida one? Because I've never been. Traveling Squirrel, number 1, Mexican, number 2, Asian, number 3, Hakka. Okay, I'm good with that. Asian food is good. But Asian is so, like, that's a diverse comment, too. You've got all kinds of different foods in there. All kinds of different foods. Basically just food. The only thing I have an issue with is, like, really raw type of anything. Like, my steak, I like medium rare to medium. If I'm at a good restaurant, I like medium. If I'm in like a normal place that doesn't really know what medium looks like, then medium rare is my style. But I like stuff that's cooked. Love the spice. Totally understand that, Traveling Squirrel. Spice is fantastic. I do like people who go in to say let's say an Indian restaurant, and they start ordering food that they think is not going to be spicy, and it ends up burning their tongue off. That's one of my favorite things to do. It's like, I enjoy spicy, real spicy, but there is a limit. I like it to taste good too. Carlo, I have seen that same ham here. Merida has a large Spanish influence. Of course, yeah. Spanish, Mayan. I mean, that's the coolest thing about Yucatecan food. There's just amazing, amazing diversity in it. Especially I love mole. There you go. I've got to be honest, mole, it's hit or miss. I've had some that's amazing. I've had some that's not. I feel like you got to nail it. I feel like you really have to nail it. Traveling Squirrel, I like to see the marks where the jockey hit my steak. Jeez. Okay, that's rare. Nope, I'm not. I'm not that way. That's a D Hornet slap its button, send it in kind of steak. I am definitely. I want it to look like a steak. But that's me. That's just me. It's all good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. Every time I see that, yeah, yeah, it reminds me of the last time that I typed LOL into the Google Translator from English to Spanish, and that's exactly what it said. And I thought that was fun. There are some things that don't turn out well in Google Translate, but that's okay. A lot of times, I have a lot of people who, and I've been trying to figure this out. I have 5 to 10 videos that actually have a really good Spanish subtitles. But I'm trying to figure out if there's ever a potential, ever a possibility of me to be able to get somebody to dub the voice that I have. Live streams, it would be almost impossible because, again, this video already is an hour and 23 minutes long. So that seems impossible. But the actual videos that I have, eventually what I would like to do is get to a point where I'm doing 2 videos a week. Good content, solid content, not just me throwing stupid stuff out, but where I can actually have somebody dub it in Spanish, whether it's traditional or Yucatecan or Mexican, like kind of those different ones. But that's what I would eventually like to do so that all of these languages can be transcribed and actually work well. But getting back to what you just commented, that did crack me up when I put LOL into the English to Spanish comments. That made me very happy. Let's see. What can I do here? I'm in there. What should we... Let's take another look. We're going to go... Let's go to the pier. See if we can... They have a nice picture of it. Not really. Let's see if I can get our guy to go on the Malecon. Yeah, he's going to hang out right there. There you go. That's a good view for everybody. Why not? There. We can all think about being right there. Traveling Squirrel, sorry, late in joining. Any update on the renovation? So, I can give you a quick update. Um, my Instagram had a couple of pictures. I'm not sure if I uploaded the last ones or not, but so up the it's going really well. They got. Jeez, my you can tell my brain is going. I'm trying to get these live streams going longer and longer because it seems like more people are able to join. But it's going really well. We have to. There's one ceiling that they basically determined that it was solid, but it just there were going to be too many issues fixing it. So what we ended up doing was we're going to pull that ceiling down and redo it. That's really been the only added expense that we didn't count on that wasn't in the budget. So they're going to pull that ceiling, redo the whole ceiling. We could have put beams in there and it would have done the same thing, but then we'd have beams. And we figured let's just make it look like it already does. So that's been the only added expense. Outside of that, they're working on the upstairs, so we actually have walls and the initial floor poured. So that's been fun, and we should have all of the walls by the end of this week. I don't know if it's going to happen because that's a lot, but we should have all the walls pulled by the end of this week. And then let's see. Once that's done, they'll work on the ceiling, and that's going to take some time because again, they have to drop the other one that's on the main floor. But that's kind of where we are. So we have a big hollowed out space that's about to be kind of all the footprint that we have. So that's where we are now. I cannot believe how well these guys are how well these individuals are working. I mean, it's like how they're just doing everything possible, and it's been fantastic to watch. So I'm very impressed. And again, very lucky that we ran into Henry Ponce based on our realtor. That's been fantastic. So yes, it is going very well. Carla, I'm sure Google translated this. They only accepted educated dogs in their rentals. That's fair. I assume they mean educated in using the bathroom outside. It would be my guess. That would be definitely one of my number one things is making sure that they're educated in that. Educated, trained. It's all right. But yeah, our renovation is going really well. And again, I've plugged it a couple of times, but I try to update our. I haven't updated in a couple of days, but our Instagram or my Instagram is at Alexander from KC, like Alexander from Kansas City, but at Alexander from KC. If you follow me on there, I try to post them not every week because sometimes there's one the pictures are like okay, there's a wall. What's that mean? But if there's some massive progress, I always try to make sure that it's updated so that you guys can follow it. But it's been really fun. Julie CP, what's going on? I prefer Mexico too. Haha. See, we got again. This is my channel where I talk about Merida all the time and Mexico a lot and Yucatan as much as possible. So I can understand where everybody's coming from. But again, like I've said in several videos, like one of the main reasons that we even initially chose going to Wymatune when we stayed on the beach, not in Merida the first time, but our initial 4 weeks on the beach when we stayed and actually bought our place was a huge part of the decision was we love being able to share those experiences with our family and we're very close to them. We travel with my wife's parents a lot. We travel with my parents all the time. We travel with our in-laws a lot too. And because of that, our in-laws meaning brothers, sisters, that kind of thing, nieces, nephews. But we wanted to make sure that we put ourselves in a position where they didn't have to have this long flight. They could just come down to where we were and it wouldn't be bad. And when you have a half a day of travel as opposed to, what kind of feels like 2 days, that's the biggest reason. So that was what really kind of got us going and got us wanting to make sure that we were in Mexico on top of just enjoying Mexico. But Merida, and I mean, as you can see, this is along the Malecon via Google Earth. This is Progreso Beach, but this was such an amazing find for us. My wife had heard of Merida. I hadn't. Just very honestly, I hadn't, and we fell in love with it immediately. So, and it's so funny. Merida is this like big city, and it seems like it's a concrete city. But when you really look at like an above, like a satellite image of it, it's a concrete city, no questions asked. But once you get behind the main walls of houses, there's all kinds of greenery and trees and that kind of thing. I mean, These places are palaces beyond the walls of it. Here, let's actually look at that. So, da, 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 da. So yeah, there's Merida. Obviously, a lot of concrete. You can see the white. But as you get closer in, and we're gonna get close to my place, but see, like you've got the concrete around all the streets and everything, but right behind it you just have trees, 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 trees. Even though there's a lot of concrete in the city, from what you see, once you step behind, a lot of these places just have beautiful palatial gardens, and then of course they're surrounded by all of the green of Yucatan. So it's a pretty cool thing. Julie CP, I went to Tabasco, Mexico. I have also been to Merida to study Spanish, and I can tell you Tabasco is hotter and more humid than Merida. Wow. I would not have guessed that, but that's good to know. Thank you for telling us that. Somebody that traveled to Tabasco. Very, very much appreciated. I still want to travel there, but now I have a different opinion. So, might not get that quite that northern wind right off there. That's interesting. So you've got Tabasco, Campeche, Yucatan. Yeah, awesome. Thank you for telling me that. I appreciate it. Again, still want to travel there, but I like knowing what I'm getting into. Traveling Squirrel, my wife and I have really enjoyed going to the restaurants the quote-unquote locals eat at. The tourist spots are nice, but the food is a little gringoed. Interested in trying the gastronomy restaurant. Oh my gosh. Yeah, the Museo de la Gastronomia. It's amazing. It's a beautiful place. Like they just have it. My camera's going crazy because I just knocked my desk. It's really a nice place. And like don't get me wrong, like I think there are several places, even that even the museo, that they get a little gringoed, but at the same time I feel like they stick to it pretty well. I really wish I could remember what it was called, but there was a roasted, I can't remember if it was pork or chicken. I thought it was chicken, but in this black sauce, and I was really kind of terrified to try it because my palate is not crazy. But I tried it. It might have been the best stuff I've ever had. So order everything on the menu. You will not regret it. Just make that your fun place. But yeah, there are definitely places that are gringoed. But at the same time, like if you go to Hennessy's is awesome, but you just kind of know what you're getting, right? Like you're getting a little taste of expat, as it were. But at the same time, it's also nice to have that because you actually can kind of go there, and especially if you have a family like mine, you want to introduce them slowly into things. And that was a nice place that we were so close to at our last Airbnb to just like go get the crab cakes, have a great time. Then we'll go to a different place later tonight and have some amazing food too. So, but let us introduce you. What did I think of Ochaya Maya? I liked it. I liked it. Let me actually give me 1 second here. There are two places that I always get confused, and it's Lachaya Maya and one other. So give me 1 second. I just want to make sure that I'm talking about the right place here. Dun, 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 dun. Oh yeah, yeah. Let's see. And there are two places that I get confused about. Um, I liked it. I really enjoyed La Maya. We had a great time. This was a place where we actually kind of stumbled on to La Maya. When we got down there, so just I'm gonna try to make this a short story. When we first went into Merida, the city, this is after we landed, left, stayed on the beach, and then a couple of days later we came into Merida the first time. We ended up going to the wrong areas, like just got confused. We didn't go to the tourist places that help you get used to the city. We just found a place to park and then walked, and the first place that we found was La Maya. Highly recommended. Very good. At the chicks, Pubil, I can't remember. I am so sorry. My brain is fried. But had the chicken dish, the traditional one. Everybody else had some good food. And we had a great experience. It was very good, cold beer. They handled our kids who were going crazy at the time very well. But it wasn't, I won't say it was the best place that we'd been down there, but it was definitely good food and just the first place that we went and very beginning of our initial trip. So what I would say is I need to go there again to really kind of see what I was doing, or uh, I guess reformulate my opinion might be another way to put it. But yeah, we really did enjoy it when we were there. It was just a really crazy time because screaming kids, everything else. So recommended, yes. Highly recommended. I'd have to go back there again. Hope that makes sense. I'm behind. Tucson Azul. Merida would be perfect with cooler weather. Can you deal with heat okay yourself? I can. Yeah, I was talking about that a bit earlier. I adjust really well to heat. Normally, I have like a day or two where I just try to push myself to get outside as much as possible, and then I'm drained by the end of the day. But if I do that by day three, I'm normally fine. I mean, Missouri is really weird. We have, our temperatures here are not quite as cold as Canada, but like we get, single digits to negative digits all the time during the winter, and then we get 100 and above several times during the summer. So the range here is crazy. So I'm used to being able to kind of shift from one to the other. So I've gotten used to it. But I can see where if you're used to, like, I have family out in San Francisco. I don't think they'd like Merida because they kind of have a constant temperature, and I think it would take them a while to get used to it. But as far as me personally, yeah, I have no problem with it. Normally takes me a day or two. So thanks for asking, and also thanks for commenting in the live chat, Tucson as well. Much appreciated. Halo, you're back. Any update about the train that's going to connect all the Mayan cities? I feel like the amount of information that comes about with the Tren Maya or the Mayan train is really it comes in piecemeal. There was actually an article in actually let me go back here. I think it was Yucatan Times. One of their feature articles was here it is. They discovered 1,000-year-old vessel in the works of the Mayan train in Yucatan. So basically, while they were working on the Mayan train, they found this 1,000-year-old pot. So there's information about the Mayan train, and again, I know this is just kind of a weird article to bring up, but it feels like it's coming about real piecemeal. Henry Ponce, our architect, he's on part of the planning committee for what is it? What park is that? Give me 1 second here. I want to make sure I get this right. Dude, stop it. Give me 1 second to bring this up. There you go. And I'll bring up this. And I just want to make sure that I'm getting the park right. Whoa, getting crazy. Park de la Merida. I don't think that's right. There was another one up here. Yeah, Tren Maya, you can see that. But they, Parque de la Plancha, that's it. Parque de la Plancha, which is just north of actually where we're building. He's part of the commission that's helping to make that into like this big kind of quote unquote central park of Merida. But I feel like every single bit of information that I get it's just separated. So I'll do another video talking about it, but as far as like giving you information on it, I don't want to say like here's what I've heard. Basically, what I've heard is that they are just continuing to push it through. It's continuing to be built. They still want to do that 2023 time period when it's done. I've also heard that there's no way it's going to be done by 2023. So when I get more information that's substantiated, I'm hoping to make another video because that was one where people had a lot of questions. But I don't want to give you bad information. I just know that like when you go through, so this area where on this thing here, let me bring this up a bit. There we go. Here's the old train tracks. This is where they're trying to make this big park area and where they're trying to kind of bring the train through as well. This area is being developed. If you drove right through there, you would see there's a bunch of structures going up. You would see that they're trying to clear a lot of land. Is that happening? Yes. With the airport stuff, with everything else, there's a lot of information that just seems like it's kind of blacked out. So probably it might be better to go somewhere else other than me to get the information. Somebody that's down there more local and is a bit more informed, because I just hear bits and pieces here and there. But yeah, sorry, I would love to give you more information, but I don't want to lie and say that I know more than I do either. let's see. Traveling Squirrel, we enjoyed our meals at Roses and Chocolate. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. And got to go. Keep up with the great updates. Thank you, Traveling Squirrel. Have a good day. Really appreciate you coming in. Oh, speaking of, it is 4:07. My son is about to get out of school. So, guys, I'm going to wait until 4:10 local time, Central Standard Time, to get off here. But thank you so much for being a part of the live stream. Again, I've still got a couple of minutes. Thank you guys so much for those of you who have liked the video. Again, if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, I would like Twitter is the same handle and everything. Twitch is the same handle, but I post more to Instagram than I do anything else. So at Alexander from KC, my website alexanderhowell.com. I posted Patreon in this up here. I just got that thing loaded. For those of you who don't know what Patreon is, it's just kind of a, hey, help the channel kind of thing. If you don't want to be a part of it, you don't need to be. It's the same thing as also, let me go over here real quick. So if you go, actually, just go to the YouTube channel. So if you go to, oh, hey, there's a ridiculous picture of me up there. Ha ha ha. But if you go to my channel here, if you hit join, you can do that too. Just channel memberships, helps channel grow, that kind of thing. Don't feel like you need to do it, but just obviously appreciate it if you do. But just biggest thing is thank you guys so much for being a part of this. I really like doing these live chats because you guys get to interact, all the questions that were asked and everything else. That is obviously awesome. And if you continue to ask those, also please feel free, once this video is done, hit the comment section below. I try to respond to every single comment, positive, negative, all that kind of stuff. Every single one gets there. But that's how I respond. And again, all of my contact information is right up there. If you guys need to contact me, if you have a question that maybe is a lot of times with this, if you're in the public comment section down below, everybody sees your question. But if you send me an email or message me, text message, that kind of thing, then you're good to go. So that's just between the two of us. I never release that information unless I ask if it's okay for something like that. But liking, subscribing to the channel, getting the updates, guys, seriously, it's the freest, cheapest way to help. Obviously appreciate it. But I hope you guys really enjoyed this. I had a really good time here. I know that this was one of the longer streams that we've had. And honestly, if my kid weren't getting off of school, I'd just say let's continue on. So thank you guys so much. And again, everything's up top. Talked about the airport coming into Mexico, or coming into Merida, possibly. I gave my opinions earlier. My biggest thing is I think that Merida is going to grow, and there will probably be a time where the airport either needs to expand or change locations or something like that. Personally, at this point, I just don't think we're there yet. But with the city being what it is and being the amazing place that it is, it's going to be tough to really hold it back forever. So again, guys, I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much for being a part of this. If you haven't yet, like, subscribe, and as always, peace. It's always weird at this point too, because I say that and then I have to hit the stop streaming button. So I'll just do a crazy look. Hold on. We'll go back to this. Ha! Big guy now. Peace.